Hello everybody, I am here to review The Northman, which I have quite literally just gotten back home from going to see. And I'm gonna be honest with you, words almost fail me in trying to come up with what I want to say about this movie. Between Everything Everywhere All at Once and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent and this movie, The Northman, the past few weeks have been just absolutely stacked in terms of films and movies that just remind me of why I love filmmaking and going to the movie theater. And this movie, I think, was just, in a different way from the other two, a reminder of what film can do. Unlike Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is probably my favorite movie that I've seen this year, but when I came out of that movie, I almost had too many thoughts, too many things that I wanted to say and talk about and discuss when coming out of that movie. Like, it was just like a word vomit that just wanted to come out of me. But coming out of The Northman, I feel like words trying to articulate what this movie just makes you feel gutturally inside is doing a disservice to it in some way, because this movie is just raw. It is rage, it is blood, it is saliva, it is guts, it is emotion and feeling and a fever dream of just humanity placed into film, and it is fantastic. To kind of describe a little bit of what this movie is, I mean, in terms of narrative, it is not anything special or spectacular. You've seen this story a billion times before. A kid's father gets killed by the father's brother, or the kid's uncle, and the kid grows up and seeks revenge against the uncle and comes through and like learns a little bit about like love and da-da-da and family and all that stuff along the way. But it is just a straightforward revenge film told in a Norse mythological sort of way. But what is special about this movie is just the way the story is told. Every frame of this film is gorgeous and immaculate and just beauty to behold, and yet every frame just is just filled with feeling and emotion and like a gut punch into your heart. You feel this character's rage and anger and just desire for revenge, and yet when there are tender moments, because there are a few, you feel the tenderness within all of that. And everything else, just the way the choreography was done, not just in the action sequences, though the action sequences are absolutely visceral. There is one battle at the end, towards the end of this movie, that literally just reminds me of Obi-Wan versus Anakin, but like how it should have been done if it was done like in a very realistic, like over-the-top grand way. That is just absolutely fantastic to see. But the rest of the choreography of just the bodies and the movement and the way things are choreographed in relation to the camera just made everything feel so particularly placed and yet natural at the same time. It has all of that stuff in here. And then what I also really loved about this movie, in some of the kind of best Norse tradition and Norse mythology tradition, is that this film could be viewed from the lens of like, this is actually happening. There are a few moments throughout the film where it does lean into the fantastical, but it always sort of plays with that expectation of like, maybe this is quote unquote really happening, maybe this could have literally happened. I mean, it's a film, so nothing literally happened, but like, you could take it as like, as is reality. But then there are a few moments where you're just like, but is this fantastical though? Are the gods playing into this? You see ravens and allusions to Odin and these mythological creatures here and there, but it never breaks it. It never goes so far. And honestly, that is true to a lot of Norse tradition, the sort of like silent hand of things in stories like this. And it was just an honest masterclass in all of the way to depict that type of storytelling and world. And I just stand in awe of it. The acting across the board was also phenomenal. Skarsgård does a fantastic job in the lead role. Ethan Hawke also has a great part in here. Anya Taylor-Joy also is like fun as the sort of fellow slave who's working alongside Skarsgård to help him in his vengeance journey. All of it was just really, really great. And while it all feels grand and epic and like larger than life in so many moments, like some of the things that you see, the grand scale of it feels huge, humongous. The final scene, the final action sequence in this is just like literally like, oh my god, mythological. And yet it also feels small Small scale, like it feels very personal, as well. While it is like this grand epic vengeance tale, it's not like huge battles, you know, in terms of like this civilization versus this civilization. No, it's just a guy getting revenge for his father, at the end of the day. And while they're certainly not just like lower level people, it still feels very grounded. At the end of the day, I know this is going to be a shorter review, but I really don't have as much to say about this film other than to say it is an experience. It is a film like Everything Everywhere All at Once. It is a movie that should be experienced in the theater, but unlike Everything Everywhere All at Once, which will really just get you thinking and wanting to like think about theory and philosophy and touching upon all these things, culture, all this stuff, how metaverses work. This is a movie that just makes you want to just feel the rawness of humanity. And it was just absolutely fantastic, and I cannot recommend it enough, along with the other two movies that I mentioned before. So go see The Northman. It is a reminder of why I love film, along with the other two movies. All three are just fantastic films and just reignited my love of going to the theater. Much needed after everything that we've gone through in the world, but particularly also in the film world as well. It's just nice to have things that inspire me again on that level to go and see and experience with other people the rawness of cinema. So thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this review. My camera's about to die, so just going to remind you to subscribe, help me out on Patreon, all that fun stuff. I have a main channel, Jessie, where you can get video essay things. I have a podcast called Jump Kate where I do Babylon 5 reviews with my friend Vera Wild of the Council Geeks channel. But beyond all of that, before my camera dies, I tell you all, live long and prosper, my friends.